could know nothing about it, right? You could send me the code that you're looking for, and I'm sure I could find the problem in about 45 seconds using it.
Don't think so. This is more complex. It's not a problem with the code, but a problem with interactions of the game. So it's not probably an AI is not gonna find it.
Okay. Right. I'm going to bring this up on stream and to see if it works, because I should do something.
Let me see.
I'm going to use YouTube because, frankly, we're moving away from Twitch. It's time. I'll just send it to you.
Yeah, I was searching the YouTube channel.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like we need to see restructuring on the Amazon Twitch end. I think that they are doing a lot of brand damage with failure to moderate and hold standards, and there's some ethical considerations there as well. It's like, guys, respectable adults aren't going to want to be on Kick, and they're not going to want to be on Twitch if you're platforming some of the worst scum imaginable, and that's what you want it to be, you know?
Yeah, Amazon is doing several bad decisions, and killing the game developer part of Amazon was a bad one, and that affected Twitch and the quality of Twitch. So they did a big mistake.
I mean, I feel like Jeff Bezos is out of the company. He delegated this just massive nonsense to who knows, right? You look at the population of Amazon employees as a whole, and you're like, this has got to, how does this work? You have over 1 million employees. You're literally larger than most armies. And you have people who are, God knows. Oh, this is very slow. Archetype. I think this is all lagged out. Oh, they don't have body type 1 and 2? We're back to male and female? What the fuck is a Kalar? Oh, I want to make something. It's not even showing me the thing. A vector. Renkai, archetype mage. I don't want to be
It's
a
not
mage.
even showing the.
Yeah, it's not showing the
The
character.
body.
Oh, you
Yeah.
see that there? It's like they're having some issue with it. It's you seeing that? This is a 4090, by the way.
Yeah, but this seems like a bug of the game, not a
Yeah.
graphical bug.
Yeah, 100% bug of the game.
Oh,
It's lagging out pretty badly. You can see it's like frame,
Oh, yeah.
frame drops terrible. There we are. I wonder if it's like downloading assets. It's like one of those things where it's a streaming launch and like it says it's finished, but in fact it is not.
yeah. The fact this is bugged is red flag. Oh, it's there.
So now it's coming in. A Dunir. Well, Dunir apparently is not here. Ah, so that's a dwarf. And that's what? A halfling? Purians are elves. Pi Rai hasn't loaded in at all. No idea what it looks like. I just want this to be half decent, and part of my thing is like it's Unreal 5. It should work. Right, well that hasn't come into Kalar. Oh, there's a Kalar. I guess that's a human-ish. Looks like it's a lion face. Might as well be... Right, fine, next. Might as well be Alliance. I don't want to be
nice.
archetype. I want to be a warrior. Bard, cleric, fighter, ranger, rogue, summoner, and tank. I'm going to be a tank. Fighter, just look at the... That's interesting. I don't think it's fully downloaded the textures. You can see the textures are clearly not in, which is strange, you know. Okay. Next, full body presets. Okay. Okay, I mean it's Unreal 5. This is ugly. Okay. Presets, body shape, height. We'll go for max. We'll go for... So it's a reasonable character creator right now. Let's keep a baseline. Head. Hairstyles have been loaded in. Those are my options. Like 4 options. Fine.
Yeah, that's a bit underwhelming.
Okay. Beard length, beard color. Let's just go with black. Fair. Let's keep it as basic as possible. You know what? I just genuinely don't care.
Yeah, you will have the face hidden by a helmet anyway, so probably.
Nail color, markings. I don't know what that even means. I feel like this is just barely functional. It's not clicking and... Whatever. Let's just go for next. Starting region. Divine Gateway of Ayala. Duns Catal. That looks like dwarven nonsense. Whatever, we'll just do human. Background. We're going to be as basic can be.
Human from forest. From...
Unable to play.
Legally distinctly
Looking
alliance.
for server. Yeah, I just feel like, you know, they've been testing a lot for a long time. This is the day of coming in. I want to get a sense of whether or not this is functional. Like, the thing is, for me, a smash hit is a game where if a day comes up, everyone on my friends list would be talking about it and be interested in it, right? And we're clearly just not observing it. What I think this is a pretty desperate cash grab in the holidays where they have to release something to just keep them solvent. That would be my 2 cents on the situation. Audio keeps cutting out too, trying to get in. So definitely not optimized. And I've played previous versions of it where logging in was not a huge problem. It's just like straight up black screen right now. No music, nothing. Maybe it will recover. Maybe it won't. Who can say? Well, that's exciting.
It is what it is.
This is why I'm not interested in doing much more than like just testing it at this point. Like getting people hyped up and be like, this is good, because that would indicate an endorsement. And I've been very cagey on that front, like, I don't know. You should check out our other options, other games out there. But on the Dune front, I just feel like it was a strong 85% of what they probably wanted to do for launch. And they were light on a lot of the PvP and ground vehicles and other things of interest, so that certainly hurts them.
Yeah, I think Dune should have released way later than when it did. Releasing so early, there were so many exploits,
it's not
so
good.
many issues.
Oh, no,
But
I got
it's-
Sam.
Oh, It's gonna be better, I think. On 18, they're gonna do a stream showing what's next, but we will see.
Well, I've got a black screen with music now. That's nice. The problem
I
is,
see.
for me, they're up against Star Citizen, and like this is the quality of Star Citizen's, overall fidelity. Like, and like, so Star Citizen is just fucking like. I'm sorry, like this is exactly what Star Citizen looks like in game. It's not a cinematic. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they're up against for us. It's like, oh, I wonder what the guys are going to be excited for. Like,
Yeah.
this is not competitive. Star Citizen, it has some problems, but it is, in terms of fidelity and these gameplay loops and the combat, it's pretty hard to compete with it right now.
The thing is, Star Citizen works. Sometimes it doesn't, but it works. But at the moment, you are just watching a black screen.
Yeah, exactly. I'm watching a black screen where you can be playing Star Citizen. I think for me, when I'm going into Ashes, it shouldn't feel like this is some type of chore for me to do.
Multiple filters.
Still a black screen.
Yep,
Have you tried restarting just in case?
we might have to. I'm gonna hit close game. This is the first launching through Steam, so I'm not surprised there's some problem. Well, we're trying to kill it. We'll see if it does any good. Now we're killing it. It killed finally. So obviously, conversations right now are of like stream integration and like, will this work well with Steam or not? I'm gonna drag Raven down here. Raven, we saw you up there alone. We're on holiday break, so I guess we're just talking. Seeing how you're doing.
Hello there.
I'm gonna go ahead and pop up the alpha again. So Ashes had its Steam launch, and I'm having a hell of a time getting it to work, which is a shock to us. So, I'm streaming it on my private channel because I really don't want to push it. You are a Star Citizen person, so these crowdfunded games are not an alien concept to you. And I think I had this copy gifted to me during Shadowlands, the pandemic. It was like a $500 copy, and at that time I think our community was like, yeah, we're the biggest killer of World of Warcraft, but this is terrible, so what are we going to do? So at that point, Ark, you're going to have to find us an option. Go check out Ashes. And that was on Unreal 4 back then, and it was a shit show, so obviously it's come a long way. But I remain really skeptical for as much of the problems that we experienced with Star Citizen. Ashes, for me, has been a much more technically problematic experience. So I'm just seeing if I can get this thing to boot at all. But, I think it's just a really competitive market. I think fantasy games are more competitive in general.
Well, I mean, they've always had World of Warcraft to compete with, so they have to be.
Right, and so my thing is are you gonna dump Star Citizen or World of Warcraft or any of these other upcoming games that you've had 20 years of investment in for this? I don't know. This is the test. I use my private channel. This is not meant for So let's see if it goes in or not. Last time it just completely crashed out. We're getting some stuttering. At least it showed my character. That's a thing. I feel like fundamentally it's Unreal 5. It's not that it's bulletproof, but it's probably not the problem. So it just comes down to can they use those tools? Can they integrate their basic net services to be able to deal with a load? And I'm coming in at midnight, this should be relatively low load. And the answer seems to be, I don't know what's wrong with it. But for some normie coming in trying to test out your game, if this is your experience from pressing Steam, you're in trouble, man. I don't think that it's a good look to have your stuff on Steam at all if it's not ready for prime time. That's my genuine view. It's one thing to be alpha testing or beta testing, Star Citizen via its own private launcher with a big stamping, this is an alpha test, early access, yada yada. Whereas this thing is okay, well, this is.
I mean, if the great big early access sign stuck on Steam, then sure, but otherwise, no.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a good thing for him. The thing is, today, I think a lot of groups forget that they're trying to, go on, well, this worked for World of Warcraft back in 2004. And that's mentally where these investors are still at. And so it's okay, well, guys, if a game like World of Warcraft tried to launch today, it would not be successful. Because it didn't work at launch.
If World of Warcraft tried to compete against World of Warcraft, it would fail.
Probably.
Right. So the point
because World of Warcraft then has all the players, and why would they move to something that is exactly the same as what they're already invested in?
Well, it happened with Classic a bit, with how the Classic Plus and etc. worked. And in that case, nostalgia won. But if
I think the older, that's my take. I don't think it's even a hot take these days. I think the original World of Warcraft Classic is a far better massive multiplayer game than retail. I think that retail is not actually an MMO anymore and hasn't been for a long time. I believe it's a giant lobby with a few in-game systems to funnel you into the group finder for LFR or for Mythic or whatever else, and that any semblance of the having to build guilds and social connections and any of the rest of that stuff to get everything done is long since passé, and the type of player base we see in now is like trained to be nonverbal. So rather than going up against a big challenge where you got to get people together and you got to get them in a room, and you got to plan, and you got to do all the stuff we do, for example, the Star Citizen, where there's just no question, like, dude, you got to be on comms, you're in fighter combat, you're going to get smoked by FPS or fighter teams out there in PvP all day. You can't be a complete, useless person who's a nonverbal and contribute at your highest level. Whereas in WoW, it's like, okay, you're using visual ping markers to show people where to go and what to do, and it's, color coded in shapes and colors on the ground for people to follow. And they've dumbed it down in the name of simplicity to its illogical extremes. And I think it's probably a little bit too far. There's just not the expectation that there's a failure state for most of this stuff, and it's just in general extremely overly simplified, and it makes things like guilds or orgs or doing large group complex activities just isn't a thing, and that's unfortunate. And so people, I think, have chosen consistently to go back to something that's more on brand for World of Warcraft with traditional raiding or classic variants rather than what they have in retail. It's still black screened out, man. I don't know what to say. I can close it and say, yep. Right, well, that's done. I don't know if I can do an integrity check or what the problem is. But that's 2 failures in a row. Update nodes, no issue. Using easy anti-cheat again. And this is why I'm like, I don't want to do primetime testing of it. I don't want to push it too hard. And why we're, officially doing more on the Star Citizen front. I have the guild meeting notes up. And just from a professionalism standpoint, although there's many problems with RSI, at least the intent to make a reasonable game is there that achieves its premise. Like, they are building the thing that they said they're going to build. It's there. It's largely playable. Sorry, I'm here. It's loading assets, screen, final touches. This is a completely up-to-date copy of this. Graphics drivers are good. Steam is fine. Plenty of memory. On a 4090, there's no reason this should be having a problem. Like every other game is playing. Like the amount of bullshit I tolerate with Star Citizen going in the back end is not something I'd ever accept for a early access release game. So that's my take on it. All right, well, I'm here. I have a 1 tag. And looks like it's going to go black screen out immediately. It's almost like there's an integrity problem, like where some files aren't there, it's loading them in the background, or who knows. Who knows? Maybe this will launch, maybe it won't. Like, our org website here is reasonably slick. It's covering everything we're doing. It's all there for people to take a look at. And I'm pretty happy with it. But fundamentally, it's just very difficult for me to really push for these other games if they're not working.
Except that they're Star Citizen.
Star Citizen I accept because it's not pretending to be an early access. And we can be like, yeah, don't test this. Keep, if you want a functioning game that's just, it's there, it's milked, keep it up with World of Warcraft, or, you have all these other branches for you to play around with. But, if you want to be on the bleeding edge of testing something that's our best bet to provide the type of experiences that these guys are interested in, that go play Star Citizen, but it's going to be a pain in the ass. All right, well, that closed out. What a shit show! What a shit show! All right, well, we'll try it again later on, but I'm not going to sit here all night fucking around with it. I'm bringing up another test game and see if it works. Yeah, all right. Well, I think that the computer is not the problem. Yeah, this seems to be loading in just fine. I like a lot of these load animations and effects. See if we can maybe rip them off for some Star Citizen stuff. Yeah, this looks fun. If my graphics card can load in a city of this scale this quickly, then I don't understand how it's having trouble with it. I don't know if you guys have ever played Anima.
Birgay Frontem!
Got a formation, guys. Fix it.
Tere! So many open fires and so few precautions. Don't you realize? Your whole city could go up at any time.
Reviews my fire precautions as being inadequate. And they get occasional fires.
Gonna take breakfast and rest a while, so have fun. I hope you can play the game a bit,
Yes, we'll figure it out.
but yeah. I check the Reddit in case someone had the same issue. Maybe it's some kind of configuration or like, but
Probably, yes.
it's awful. But see you later.
Good night. You can pop us back up to the Star Citizen channel.
Good.
This seems to be working just fine to me.
Yeah. Working fine until you go to Levski and can't get a ship out.
Levski's been crazy for me too. I've had a lot of weird problems.
I mean, it's new, so of course. Just, like, pain in the butt when, you're organising with a bunch of randos to fly a big ship, you get them all in one space, you manage to organise everything, and then you can't pull out the ship.
True.
Which is what happened to me earlier today when I had a full crew for a Hammerhead. Ready to go.
Real. That was a pain in the What are you using a hammerhead for?
For being a hammerhead. Because you can. People were asking for, you know, gunning positions, and it's like, well, my hammerhead's got 6 of them.
True. I think eventually they're going to do an overhaul and it's going to be a really solid ship again. I think it's fine for PvE, but
I think so long as you don't have an Idris or a Polaris trying to shoot it out of the air, it's a fine ship. And if you do, then obviously you want to maneuver out of the way of those missiles and, you know, get yourself to cover. Preferably somewhere behind one of your own Idrises, or, you know, the like.
right. In a complex fight, a lot of guys just don't have the ability to address that type of situation. They know the situation work. So they inevitably end up in range in one shot.
Yeah, like if you stick plus 10 Ks out, you know, like you're going to be able to dodge pretty much anything they shoot at you. And, you know, you're still a pretty decent fighter screen as for your cap ship. Because, you know, like, as much as everyone kind of says, oh, you can't catch ships with the hammerhead because it's good straight line speed, just not very maneuverable or whatever. No small fighters that I know of want to get close to one. They all want to sit outside of range and try and pick it off from a distance, and frankly, that prevents them from getting close to whatever it is you're protecting. Which is good. You know, if that's what you're trying to do.
True.
I think they have a very viable space in a fleet. I'm just not sure exactly how you'd go about keeping them safe against, you know, railguns. Because you make one mistake with a Idris railgun and you're fucked.
I mean, I'm happy that they're allowing that to be in-game. Like, an Idris should be scary, and you should know not to fuck around, so it's kind of a FAFO mechanic. But it is super squishy.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything is super squishy against an Idris, that's kind of a thing. You know, like, I've had Idrises shooting railguns at my Scorpius. Didn't work well for them because you can dodge the bullets. I think just, you know, keeping standoff distance from those weapons is the most important thing. I suppose the other kind of real downside is that so many people in such a small space that, like, when you do get tapped, one tapped, you're taking out 6 people.
Right, the risk is very high.
But on the counter side, you know, like, no fighters are going close to that thing. Not living ones, at least. So, like, maybe don't fit her out with the most powerful guns. Just fit her out with nice, fast-firing, you know, fast-firing weapons to take out smaller ships, rather than using her to engage larger ships, I think. How that works in practice, I don't know. Just theory crafting based on what I know about how I've flown it previously.
A fire has started in your city.
I mean, she'd also be pretty fucking devastating if you got inside the range of an Idris. Like, if you can get close enough to it before she gets on, you would just fucking shred through the shielding. And she'd probably be just maneuverable enough to keep outside of the range of the railgun at point-blank range.
Yeah, if you're smart, you can orbit it.
Yeah, like, that's what I'm thinking. Like, but that's what I do with a Polaris. You get a Polaris inside an Idris's firing range, there's just jack fucking shit she can do to turn around and hit you. because the Idris, she is a not very maneuverable boat. That said, you know, you get your fucking nose onto target and whatever you're looking at pops.
Theaters is just a weird design because, like, it clearly is being used as like a big gunship, but it's also an armored carrier, and it also has a lot of. So it's behaving like a much larger capital ship, is my point.
It's a standoff ship. Like, ideally you want to use it at distance because that railgun, 10 clicks, you can just sit outside of range and put shots in on big ships. At the same time, you launch your fighter fleet to go into battle further away.
Right, 100% a stand-up ship. And it's designed to like, all right, I don't know if I want to get close if we're going to get popped.
And of course, she always ends up in these, PvP turn battles because no one else wants to sit. No one else wants to sit at that distance away from the Idris. Your enemies are just going to go, do I want to sit 10 kilometers away from an Idris while it picks us off? Fuck no. So in my opinion, that's kind of what you want to do, is you want to launch your fighters early, put them out ahead of you, get everyone nice and distracted by those fighters, then come in when everyone's distracted and take your few pot shots.
We've been pretty successful with using them. There's some pretty like highly competent groups out there that are occasionally problems, but it's very rare.
I haven't seen any larger groups with decent fleet tactics yet. I mean, I've seen I've seen very few dogfighting tactics where they're just absolutely. My standout for that is the guys from WRL are absolutely brutal. They used to use Hornet Ghosts, and just, my god, the firepower and stealth and tight, super tight dogfighting.
It's unusual to find like really. You would expect more tight interceptor usage, and I rarely ever see those, like the 85Xs and the Furies and all the rest of it, like the super fast ships being used. But I think with a high enough skill cap, you could absolutely. They're crazy. I just think the game, the latency and other issues, it just doesn't pan out for people. So we don't see them being used as much as it perhaps should.
If you're talking about, the super fast stuff, I'm a real fan of the Krugers.
Yep.
They are just fucking outrageously maneuverable. You need a cap to carry them though, and they are squishy. And they don't have a lot of firepower. But getting a shot on them is hard. And if you put really recharging shields on them... Sorry, in the middle of combat now. And my shields went down, so yeah. Yay.
Put a stamp on that. Let them know you made it.
Thankfully, I'm not in a Kruger today.
Hey, tune it. Bit itchy. But then
Otherwise, I
again,
would definitely be dead.
might be me.
But yeah, we had some of those out in an A2, and we were launching them from the decks of the A2 rather recently. And I think it was me and Striker, and whew. They're a little bit like the 85X in that you can just dance around even the good dogfighting. But yeah, if you outfit the Krugers with the fast regenerating shields instead of the strong ones, you take a few hits, you duck out, you get some repairs, you come straight back in. Because that was the other good thing about the A2 is it was a good good repair base.
That's fun.
Just had a couple of had an engineer on deck and
So A2 mini carrier is hilarious.
well, my favourite so far is the lower deck of the Polaris, the cargo hold. You can fit the Krugers in there too.
We stand waiting.
You can turn the Polaris into a proper carrier. You can also get a Kruger into the belly of a Connie.
That's funny.
It's a bit tight, but it does work.
Everything. If you're desperate enough.
I mean, most people don't even consider that because you've got the Parasite craft on there anyway. But you can fit a second one on there. If you are a good pilot and don't mind a jumpy Kruger in your belly. Because you've got to kind of land it diagonally up.
I can see that.
These weeds will be good for fodder. Boil them.
Still, I kind of wonder how many of them you could fit on an Idris. I mean, the things are so light you can move them around with a Max-Tac tractor beam. You could literally stack them 3 high, and then max tractor them to the front of the Idris for launch. You could probably get 100 of the damn things on there.
I think that across the board, most of the stuff is just lack of people. Is what we're coming up with that.
Solway, Brian.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that as an actual battle tactic. I'm sure with the way Star Citizen reacts to physics, it would explode.
True.
It's more of a, I wonder if you could do this stupid thing.
Festina Lente.
Because sometimes, just sometimes, the answer is yes.
We advance.
We have our own bread baskets.
You know, like the time I tried to figure out whether you could wedge a tank into the Polaris.
It feels like
The
it
answer
was
is yes.
open to
You can do it.
You can get a full Nova tank?
Get the trick. There is a trick. You actually just you go into the Nova tank. You turn the ports. You unlock them. You take the guns off the top. Stick them inside the Nova tank, and then you have to reverse the Nova tank at speed into the Polaris. The problem with the Nova tank is the angle, not the clearance.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, like, you can do it a couple of different ways. Like, you could use another ramp to get the angle correct so you can wedge it in. But yeah, if you basically just center that Nova tank, wedge it in backwards as fast as you can, you'll eventually be able to wedge it in there. But pain in the ass to get on, easy to get off. Once you get it off,
I mean,
all you got to do is open up your Nova, stick your laser turrets back on top, and you're a fully functional Nova tank, ready to go.
that's pretty significant because it just adds more utility to the Polaris. I really like the Polaris.
The real significant problem is getting the tank on. It is hard. It's not a thing you can do with great reliability, but you can definitely get it in there. I'd like to see a more reliable method of getting it in there. I'm thinking like, you know, using a second ship and boarding it off the ramp onto that, but that's, you know, beside the point. The point is, you can do it. You know what I hate about these protection missions? They're usually dead before you even get in there.
Yeah, 100%.
Stamp on that. Let them know you made it.
Fire has started in your city.
Come help themselves.
Dumb question, Ark. Do we have any idea what our fleet composition is going to look like?
It has to be flexible. Depends on what
I mean,
the
like,
meta is, close to 1.0. I mean, I think we have an idea of what they would like, but I don't think at this point there's a lot of confidence that CIG is going to have the balance going. Right now, the meta is kind of disastrously, I would say, influenced by individuals who are trying to push certain outcomes. So I think that right now it's definitely much more fighter and capital ship heavy. A lot of these sort of specialized craft are just not viable in fights. The way things are actually being decided, there might not be a solution to that because there's a psychological component too. So we'll see if that changes.
Like, I mean, is there anything core that we want to, like, absolutely want to have and base the fleet around? Like, yeah, is the Idris that thing?
I think it's probably going to be, frankly, the Javelins and the Kraken fleets are going to decide how things are done. It just depends on, like, what are we fighting for? Because it's going to come down to, like, what are the strikes? What do those look like? What are the reward loops? What is the economy? Because right now, we just don't know. The economy is a complete fucking joke right now.
Your people are ailing.
I don't think the economy exists at the moment.
Yeah, 100%
Like, not as an economy. Like, nothing gets traded by the AI around the universe, so, like, it's not really...
Yeah.
I mean, player-to-player trade is becoming a thing, which is very promising.
Yeah, until they figure out the dupes, though, it's kind of, it's almost a joke.
Yeah, obviously they've got to kill that shit. And
I'm
they've
fine with them
probably
letting
got
it
to
like,
kill...
run its the course because I think they just need to see what is being abused. and go from.
They also probably need to kill a bunch of the gold mining too.
Okay, no question.
Because then anything that, you know, like, where that is a possibility, just, you know, like, will kill your economy with an external grey market.
Yeah, they need to see how it's being abused, how the gray market works. From my perspective, it's inevitable it's going to be there.
Neptune's
It's definitely a
finest.
problem in this game.
Ready!
I want Ashes to be good. I'm a little bit disappointed, but not terribly surprised that it's having the problems it is. So what are you to do?
I mean, the problem with the MMO market is generally that you're competing with well-established, generally bug-free competitors who already have, you know, market share.
I think fantasy's a lot harder, less fun, less forgiving in that regard.
And also, you know, they have IPs that people are, you know, already invested in. You know, like, you know, people who like Lord of the Rings aren't necessarily the same people who like the lore of, you know, say, Elder Scroll.
Right.
There's a lot of crossover there, but it's not necessarily.
Right. The point is you have so many different subsets that are like servicing that genre at this point. You're trying to get into that niche. It's tough. Is your game significantly better than ESO? Somebody's put in 10 years there? Or 20 years into WoW? I mean,
But, like, even if
tough.
that's true, how do you market that to that person? How do you, you know, like, tell them that your game is better? You have to have a hook.
Right.
What is it that makes your game stand out?
And unfortunately, I think a lot of the games that have come in really have not been able to answer those questions.
You know, like, for every game that is touted to be a WoW killer, how many WoW killers have existed?
I mean, there was a big rush on it in the early 2000s. So by the time like 2010 came along, there were so many of them out. But they had a good video that it was a Mad Season show. Did with a lot of sort of history in it. And we played the majority of them. But there are a lot of like Korean weird side variants that we observed too that we didn't get too heavily involved with. Like Aeon was a thing, but there was a half dozen like other things that came out in the sort of lineage area. So it's definitely been interesting to see how it's played out. But it's been fraught
But,
with
like, how many of them took away World of Warcraft's player base? None.
I think that like we had a significant shift. Tried Star Wars: The Old Republic, and a good chunk went to Guild Wars 2. But those were during periods when WoW was really struggling due to internal problems. So WoW's biggest problem was always its own failure to just modernize. It was extremely just reactive. So, for example, rather than doing a lot of innovation, they wait for the big WoW killer to come in, they'd see what it did, and then after that, you know, they would make some minor changes to keep people sort of happy in the interim, and that was essentially the model. Like, over and over again, we saw that. But in the end,
Iteration's
like,
not a bad thing.
yeah, in the end, like, they would eventually do some reforms to keep themselves relevant. And then the people would come back.
When the she-owls cry,
Warhammer was a lot of fun, though. Warhammer's problem was not the IP or the premise or even the DAOC and Mythic team. It was EA. EA killed that. They could have.
Oh, EA kills everything it touches. That's not a surprise.
It really could have been something. Could have been a contender.
I'd even argue that EA killed the Old Republic.
Oh, no question about it. So the two biggest ones that they took the EA money, and those guys always came in and were like, "We want something that's not ready," and they were so close, and they shipped things that were like 70 or 80% complete, and they just lacked the discernment to understand that it's far better for them just not to behave that way. Star Wars: The Republic is still probably the best story leveling and immersion experience from like a pure RPG standpoint of any of them.
It was pretty good.
And I mean, it's really kind of tough to top. Nobody takes that seriously. So a lot of the people took the wrong conclusions from all of this stuff. It's like, no, that's good. Please keep that for future games. But no, it's just nobody did. So you have to go back and experience that. And I've played through, I think when COVID came up, I was able to do almost all of the storylines through a few times in different places. And it was really enjoyable. Just the way of killing time with friends. And we really enjoyed it. So my perspective, it's a triumph in what it did get right. And it's not surprising that a lot of that was in the traditional BioWare strengths. But in the end, like, what do people keep coming back for? You know, you do need to have the PvE core people have to be taken care of. I think raiding is just a really important hobby for people. And that can't be taken, you can't just assume that you're not going to be... It's Sonic. What the fuck are you doing, man? Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. We play with Sonic and a bunch of these guys really heavily during New World. Because speaking of WoW Killer, fucking New World, man, that's tough.
I didn't get into New World. I didn't start it.
We played
didn't
it
play
pretty heavily. I mean, were you wrong not to get into it? The answer is, it obviously didn't work out. So dismissing it was probably rational. But it's totally, it's so sad though. Think about it. It's like, I would tell these guys, and they're like, you know, you're here and you're enjoying it. Just, this is the game. This is it. And this is the best it's ever going to be. And you were there. You know, so realistically, that was correct. And now it's being shut down. So looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm glad I was there. I'm glad we did what we did.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. How you doing, man?
Oh, not too bad. It's been a while. How you been?
I've been pretty well. We've been playing a lot of Star Citizen, to be honest. We are getting ready for the next generation games. Midnight's coming up. I'm trying to get copies of games for people and make sure they're all able to complete it. You know, WoW's pretty long in the tooth. And I've, you know, exhaustively written about the need for them to modernize and all the rest of it. But that's clearly not happening. It's just some incremental stuff and Chris finishing things out to the best of his ability. And I think that's okay. But overall, you know, for the future, there's a few games that are doing some pretty innovative stuff. Star Citizen, I think, stands out. So we've endorsed that as probably our major campaign focus for the long term. And you know, I'd recommend you take a look at it if you're looking into playing a different type of game down the line.
Right now, I barely have any time for any games. I transferred jobs, and it is chaos up here, so...
Sounds like it.
So the most I get to play... The biggest thing that I'm trying to do is just try to finish out remakes to where I can get the corrupted Charlemagne. That's my main goal, is just to get to that. That's all I gotta do, I think, is to raid and get exalted, which I'm not too far off, so... Nope, I just happened to see that you were on from Blizzard, because I just had to log back in, and it's like, I'll see if he's online.
Yeah, we did a little work with the player housing. I have, to be fair, I just keep my World of Warcraft stuff up on another screen here, just doing admin in the background. But it's not. We have a raid team that runs on Wednesday when Hopper's around, and that's about.
Yeah. Nope. I just figured I'd stop in and say hi to you. I haven't talked to you in a while, so.
Yeah, enough. Hang out, come by, get yourself a copy of Star Citizen when you get a chance. It's not something that's really time required. It's just there. You follow up on how the development's going and know that you've got a spot on one of the ships. We have all credit to the team here, but the reality is we have a huge capital ship fleet. You know, we are in really good shape, so you will always have a role on one of those ships as a gunner or as a pilot or whatever else. So you'll have the benefit of those expensive space toys.
A fire has started in your
You
city.
guys still going into Ashes of Creation?
Yeah, I tried to log in a few times. I have a copy of it. It just won't start, so we'll see what happens.
Pretty hard to get into
yeah,
a game that won't open.
Yeah, it's tough to play a game that won't open.
No, I just saw it was on Steam's store, and it was like, I remember you guys talking about it, so I was like, I'll put it on my wish list. But other than that, I've just been busy with work, trying to keep everything afloat up here at work. So
That's what you got to do.
Have you played Star Citizen, Sonic?
no, I have not.
Not a sci-fi fan, or just haven't really.
There is a shortage of
I
workforce
just
in one of your
I
cities.
just haven't had time on anything. Like the most I get is maybe an hour of free downtime. And the only reason why I woke up here is because I'm getting old and had to get up out of the bed. So
Yeah, take a look at it. You know, obviously, we keep the door open so that people can come in and play with us over the last few years. And you've got a permanent work. We've been around for so long; it's important to us. It's a lot of fun.
it's
I'm
easy.
I'm running some at the
Diablo.
moment. If you want me to stream some, I can show you what it's like.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll look into it here in a little bit. I'm just waking up, so. But I did see that Diablo 4 brought back the Paladin.
I played a paladin pretty heavily back in Diablo 2. And that was many, many moons. I think that's kind of a desperation thing. I'll make some, I'm sure.
That's how I started out with my Paladins, was
Yeah.
because of Diablo 2.
It's old school. I mean, I probably do a playthrough as a paladin just for fun, but Diablo's a pretty dead franchise at this point, unfortunately.
No, I just saw it.
Been killing its games recently. I mean, they absolutely shit the bed with Overwatch,
That is for sure.
and that was one I played and enjoyed. Right up until about the patch before Overwatch 2, when they just fucked it all up.
Remember all your fun AI things there that you were creating?
Yeah, AI is crazy now. It was just
Oh,
expensive
yeah.
to play regular. It was early alpha. Like, it's really fucking up the gaming market, too, because all the RAM is ridiculously expensive as a result.
Yeah, it's not going to help when this lovely super data center that I'm working at fully gets up.
Oh, is that what you're working at? No, that's funny. Well, data centers are a thing, man. It's a good business to be in these days.
I'm working at it'll be the second largest self-cooling facility for AI.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not AI becomes, functionally useful eventually.
I think the
know,
major
it's
thing
got-
is, is it going to translate into real serious robotics and 3D printing and manufacturing? Like, it has to be more physical. Like, what are the engineering applications of that type of stuff? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean,
What
it doesn't
could you
necessarily have
possibly
to have engineering
require?
applications, but that would be definitely the best use case scenario for it.
Yeah, that's
If it-
the hope. Is like, how do we? Where does the real value come from? Because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, with Tesla, I understand the fucking business model, right? I can understand what he's doing, and I understand why that's useful to me and why we want this thing to happen. With a lot of the AI stuff, I'm like, okay, is it just a super overvalued, or is it going to deliver on this shit or not? And I don't think it's as clear cut as like, oh, a self-driving car that is better because of AI would be useful. I just don't know that that's what they're really providing.
It's
Like,
funny.
even if it is successful, can it gain the trust required to be commercially viable?
I mean, right now the trust thing is a big no for me.
Because, like, the thing is, it has to be not just. It probably has to be significantly more reliable than a human being,
Yes, exactly.
because you have maintenance costs you don't have with a human being.
And there's a legal component of it as well, because there's a massive liability problem with this stuff. And that's why we don't see a self-driving with Tesla cars, right? I mean, theoretically, they have the capacity to do it.
I think we don't see self-driving with Tesla cars because they probably ram themselves into a shit ton of walls.
Yeah, exactly. They don't. It's not sufficiently reliable that you want to do it.
Like, it's not the cases that if they work 99% of the time, that's fucking fantastic. It's the 1% of the time they fuck up that's a problem.
Yeah, that's causing all the lawsuit problems. So I mean, obviously, it's a big reasonable consideration.
Because, like, when a human being fucks up, we kind of know why, and we can assign the blame to what the problem was. Was the person tired? Were they crazy? Were, they just not paying attention?
Right, we have a well-defined legal framework to handle it. And
Yeah.
in this case,
And
when it comes to
with the
AI, it's like,
half the time is like, why the hell did they do this? And when they fuck up, they can fuck up really big in ways that humans don't.
yeah, the current AI is like ridiculous. I can, even with repetitive tasks where I've shown them like how to do the thing, and they've demonstrated that they can in fact do the thing, right? I'll have these situations over and over and over again where it doesn't reliably do the task. So there's just a lot of bug fixing on it. And it's almost like, in like Halo, where we can't keep the AI running too long because it goes a little bit crazy. And it's just like, yeah, I can see that. They get pretty loopy. Like, the longer a project goes on, like I'm writing briefs, and the more data in the background it gets, the weirder its stuff starts getting. Like, the coherence breaks down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that is a big problem.
Yeah, one day at work, one of the machines went down that runs everything, and we were all posting in Teams chat that Skynet was taking over.
Yeah, no, this stuff they'll get weird. They are weird. AI is like, it's not
Probably
a human, it's
not
not a
not
human
Skynet,
intelligence.
more a paperclipping problem is more likely to occur. Where the
It's
AI
just
is
one of
doing
them.
exactly what it's intended to do, just too well.
It was just us being smart asses that we could get away with it.
We stand waiting.
No, the point is, no, there are real ethical concerns. You have a lot of documentation of how they behave that is concerning.
I mean,
almost
part
every
of the problem
ethical
is also
test
who's
provides.
telling it what ethics are. Like, I mean, there's all
100%.
that shit, like, what was it, Grok AI telling everybody under all circumstances that Elon Musk was the best, no matter what it was the best at. Because clearly someone had gone in the back and told him that you have to say this guy is the best.
Correct.
It's like, from Elon Musk's perspective, that's ethical, because he's the best. He knows that. And from the
Right.
rest of us, we're like, that's
But it's entirely
definitely unethical.
subjective, and we probably shouldn't be propagating that, right?
Yeah, how to define what is ethical is a very subjective thing. Yeah, we can maybe agree maybe murdering everybody is a bad thing. I think almost everybody can agree on that. Apart from
Right.
that, you know, like, there's a lot of disagreement on what ethical is. And I'm just not sure that, you know, even kind of consensus opinion on that's going to help
Yeah,
with
well,
that
it's
particular
one of those
problem.
things are completely unregulated. Like, what are you supposed to do? So the question is, like, what can we apply it to, like, legally? I think we're going to have a lot of experimentation as I try to figure that out, only to figure out that, oh, there's reasons we don't do that.
They'll eat the rats.
I mean, I'd say part of the problem is that the AI is learning based on the collective, not experience of humanity, the collective
It's a data set.
writings of it, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a data set. So, like, the data sets are inherently polluted. And once you start having AI in the data sets generating a lot of the garbage, then it gets even worse. And so there you get that weird coherence thing. It's like human beings on almost any topic throughout history are collectively wrong about things on a massive scale, right? And we could
Yep.
all agree that something we're going to accept X, Y, or Z is true, and just sort of go on with our lives about it. And that's interesting, right? Because it's like, okay, well, you've determined that's the situation, and it might be like the Earth is flat, or whatever the issue is. So,
And the thing is, we are entirely capable of building logic, figuring out when we're wrong eventually. AI can't do that.
yeah,
like
it can't
the-
lead itself back to truth baseline, or it's a very difficult thing. Like, well, how do we define trust?
It can copy the consensus that everybody who has applied that process has reached, but it cannot apply that process itself.
Right. So, is it really intelligent? Is the question.
And to that I say I don't know, but probably not.
Yeah. So I don't think it's really. It's a lot of things that mimic intelligence. I don't know if it's really there yet.
I'm not entirely dissuaded that that is not the way we do things. It's just that, you know, like, we have millions of years of evolution that, you know, like, tell us certain things, certain starting points, and then we live a life that gives us all this information. And the AI is just given all the information without having to negotiate that life.
Right. It's not evolving into these conclusions or why.
You know,
So-
the AI doesn't get the benefit of starting out with pack instincts. You know, it doesn't understand that, you know, helping other agents can help itself.
altruism, right? Exactly.
You know, whether it's every human, well, almost every human being, apart from the pure sociopaths, and even them to a limited degree. Yeah, they have, you know, empathy with others that allows them to go, hey, you know, like, I'm nice to you, you should be nice to me.
Done.
And it just doesn't have that basis.
Let's build something
You
lasting.
could
It
give
feels
it
like it
information
does
about
you
that
good
basis.
to
You
eat a
couldn't
sardine.
give it that basis.
Let's build something
At least,
lasting.
I don't think you can do that yet. Maybe someone can prove me wrong. But it's kind of like I see some of the worst of it in AI. I'm going to put air quotes over art, because AI cannot create art, because art is inherently a human. It is entirely
Right,
the work
right.
of humans.
It's
not
just
the end
arranging
product.
pixels based upon a difference engine. That's what it's doing.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, art is inherently defined as the process and not the result.
Right. I think data set learning, you could argue, well, that's how human. I don't know. I think in the end, it's just arranging pixels. And that's it. So it's a mathematical function. Where it's like, oh, we have a million versions of this thing, and we're going to give you
Yeah.
rewards for getting the closest to this. So what you'll get is things that look similar to what you're asking for, but just never quite have the fine details, right?
The thing that kind of gets it's not even just the fine details. It's like when you're making a piece of art, you've got a thing you're trying to do with it, right? Like whatever that thing is, like maybe you're making a political message, maybe you're trying to make it look orange. And the way you negotiate that is reflective of your entire experience, how you've worked, what you've learned,
This sardine and
your
I,
unique
we're
perspective.
both
And
very
that's
small
why art
fish.
looks the way it does and why we find art engaging. And half the time,
But
I can look at an AI image and I can go, huh. You look at a thumbnail of it and you go, that looks interesting. And then you take a moment to actually go, okay, what's happening here? Why is this being told? Whatever. And at that point, my brain kind of fries on most AI artworks.
Yeah, and I think they call that uncanny valley, where it's
No,
similar
it's
to what
not-
you're looking at, like you'd expect, but it's outside of. There are things that are
The
wrong.
uncanny valley is when you're approaching realism in an object, and the things that you don't understand about it that are very fine and detailed throw you off more as it gets more realistic. Whether it's like when it's a cartoon, you don't care. It doesn't
Right.
give you that heebie-jeebies. No, my brain kind
I
of
gotta get
fries.
ready for work, so I'm gonna jump out.
Get out of
You
here,
guys have a
Sonic.
good one.
Merry Christmas, man.
Like, there are some AI artworks that I find that I know that they're AI, not because of any of the typical AI flaws, but because of their composition.
Right.
I sit there and I look and I go, what is inherently bugging me about this? And then I realize it doesn't have a focus.
Right. That's
and
true.
Even the worst human art has a
Away,
focus.
Praetor.
And sometimes it's just little things like the image is in the perfect 4/3
I
compositional
always make
framing,
note to make
Right.
next
like a good
time,
piece, or like a good artist would do it. But it's got things in the wrong places that detract from where they should be. And it's just like, I'm looking at it and going, well, I know this artist should be good enough to do that because their rendering is fucking flawless. As AI artworks can do some pretty good rendering sometimes. Not
Right.
most of the time, just sometimes they get it right.
I just hate seeing it all over all the YouTube now because there's a million
You have
errors.
received
They
a
look
missive
pretty
from the Lady Diana.
good.
Ere.
A
She
lot of them
requests
tend to
you
look very
visit her to
airbrushed as
discuss
well, very, very smooth.
matters both just and crucial.
Like it's like a blend of photo and
Through the waves.
drawing.
There are
Yeah, 'cause
signs
people want
of
that,
public
like,
unrest.
Very talented rendering process that kind of looks like it comes off a movie poster or whatever. And it just kind of it has no idea what grain is.
We have to
Everything
specifically
is-
tell it.
You'd have to specifically add it afterwards, and the people who are using this, who care enough to make AI artworks, don't care enough to study or learn
Right.
the things that
Yeah,
like,
so you're finding
help
things that
making it
you
real.
notice that are wrong about it that are really jarring.
Oh, it's worse for me because I'm a VFX artist. I make realistic looking things.
Right.
It takes a shit ton of time and effort, and I know when you get it wrong, what is wrong. Because we used to do fucking review sessions every time, and we would pick on things. Hell, reality looks wrong some of the time.
Right, perspective is a huge part of it, and it's often very difficult to teach the AI like what the human perspective is, like or what looks real to a human, because that's subjective.
Well, when you're talking about perspective, literally AI gets perspective wrong all the time. It has no idea
100%.
about the scales of things.
And so you get these images, you're just like, this is so strange. Like, what's going on here? It's like, it's a weird, inhuman, like mathematically, it's an accurate representation of what's going on in an abstract
Should I
way.
see
The thing is,
bones
no, it's
lying
not.
side of a
Like,
road?
half the time it's
I
not
should pass
mathematically
quickly on
accurate because
by.
it just has no idea what the size of a thing actually is. So it'll put something back in space, and it'll make it look the way it's seen things look before, but it doesn't know how tall that thing is. So it can get it wrong like that. It's weird little things like that. And it really, really struggles with straight lines and obscuration. Like,
Hey,
the AI's
you.
biggest killer is
I've
obscuration.
been thinking.
When
There's
something
so
goes
much
behind another thing, it
injustice in
just
our
doesn't
world.
know what to do.
And what greater injustice is there than to be forced to marry someone you
Which
don't
is why you get all
love?
those, like,
So
vehicles
look,
appearing or disappearing
one of my
behind
friends has
people
been
and not
betrothed to some
traveling at the correct
horrible old
rates. And
equis. Should we start spending
it kind of
the
knows
rest
that when
of
an
her
object
life
goes
with some
behind
old
something, it's got to
fogey
pop out
she
on the other
hates?
side. Or
Can you rescue her?
it just doesn't know
For
how to
love
keep a speed.
and
or,
money. I could
Yeah,
give
because
you
obviously-
a lot of money.
You know, whoever's giving it the rewards isn't telling it that stuff properly because they're not looking that detailed at it. It's like, is this generally
Ooh,
okay?
good
Yes,
luck.
this is good.
Time
And
flies.
then my biggest problem with AI,
As
especially
do
video
we.
and generative image AI, is an inability to correct it in any meaningful fashion using the AI itself and not having to go
Right.
outside of the AI to do it.
Yeah, it's
Like,
very difficult to
I
go and
gen-
re-edit problem.
Yeah, like I generate a perfect woman, and I go, man, her shirt is fantastic, but I wish it was purple instead of red.
You have to
You
use
can't
other
just
tools
say,
for
you
it.
can't just,
specialized
you
tools.
can't just jam in but make the shirt purple. Exactly this, but make the shirt purple. Yeah, human artists can do that. Fuck, no problem. You just go in, change the color palette. AI is like, nope.
I
can't do
feel
that.
it's extremely primitive right now is the major issue. And it's going to
Yeah,
take
like-
a lot of refinement for them to be like, oh, well, I guess you do kind of want the Photoshop tools and specialized ability to have some control of the product.
But like functionally, like in terms of making, you know, ads or whatever, which is, you know, your commercial art, the number one thing they all fucking want is changes to everything all
Right.
the time.
100%.
I mean, you take a look at what was it, that Coca-Cola ad they did with AI, and they spent like, what was it, 100 people spent, you know, 70-hour weeks on that AI ad because fixing the AI is harder than shooting a goddamn thing for real.
100%. 100%. Frame by frame, there's a million errors. And once again, you can have 1,000 renders just to get one that's half decent. And then it's very
But
difficult to
also-
reproduce from the seed on it.
Also, the executives at the Coca-Cola company are going to go, that's great, but our Coca-Cola is Pantone, what is it, 152 or something? I can't.
Right, exactly.
How do I know this? Because I've worked on a Coca-Cola ad. I know what they say. And you're like, don't ever tell a Coca-Cola executive that Pantone is a physical thing and doesn't actually have any application to the color of a thing on screen. They don't know and they don't care.
No, they don't.
All they know is that it has to be Pantone 178 because that's what it is when they make the cans. Don't tell them that changes depending on the lighting conditions.
Well, they have a piece of paper from the ad department, and they've been running these ads forever, and that's what they're budgeted to do.
It
Yeah,
gives me
I mean, don't
peace
get me
of
wrong, they
mind
know
that
their
my
shit, like-
husband wears a warm hat.
They're not bad at their jobs, but you know sometimes they get a little bit weird like that. But can you imagine trying to tell AI that it has to be Pantone, you know, whatever,
No,
when
I
that is
don't
not
know
a
a
thing that it
single
can?
AI tool right now that understands that.
Oh, but
They
like
can't-
the thing is, you can't do that, and the AI would be trying to do a thing that you can't do, and is just entirely subjective to the artist and to the person making the call. I had a client once who wanted a lens flare on white.
What?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was.
Well,
Technically,
I
it
don't
was my
think they
stupid
know.
little
I don't think they
job.
know what it means. I think it's just.
Yeah, they
genuine-
don't know what it means, but they do know what it means. But they don't know what it means, and you know, like AI wouldn't get that. But the artist in charge went, I know exactly what I've got to do here. I have to fudge the rules of physics. And he took a lens flare, and instead of, you know, applying it with an additive process like you're supposed to, he ran with a normal overlay. And the client went, that is exactly what I'm asking for. And the VFX artist, you know, smiled his best I'm dying inside face and went,
There you go.
please enjoy. Everyone's going to look at everyone who's my peer is going to look at my art and think that I am a fucking hack.
Correct.
Actually, I once got chewed out for making art exactly the way the client wanted. I was told by my producer, it fucking looks terrible. I'm like, yes, I agree. Why did you do it that way? I was asked to. Nobody asked you to do it that way. Yes, they did.
No, the client really does want it this way, and they want to have it any other way. This is what makes them happy, and they pay for it.
Oh, and of course it made them very unhappy in the end, even though it was exactly what they asked for. Because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They have an idea in their head, but that idea does not work.
I couldn't do what you're doing. I have a background in design, and I couldn't do that for it would be too soul killing.
You know, some of them you can just explain to them why they're wrong, and they will deal with that, and they'll take that on board. And others, you have to show them that they're wrong.
Ere?
And others, you have to show them that they're wrong, and then they will say that they're right, and then you do what they say they want, and you just don't care about that particular project anymore. You know, like you got to turn your feelings off and do what you're told instead
Quite
of
the
what
striking
you,
turn of
once that
events.
happens, you just can't care about anything on that project. And that can lead to some trouble, but you know, like it does prevent the screaming matches that would occur otherwise. Once saw a VFX soup put a Betacam tape through the wall.
Fun.
There are signs of public unrest.
Got past them, no issue.
There are signs of public unrest.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. And he wasn't wrong to be fucking pissed. I wouldn't have put the Betacam tape through the wall. Especially not a brick wall. I am quite impressed with his upper body strength, that mind you. Generally nice, smiley guy, but someone just pushed him too far.
Adroitly done.
A ship is under attack.
Yeah, there's definitely a reason why Alan Smithy is a thing in Hollywood. Did you ever hear about that?
No.
So in Hollywood, not in ads, but there's a thing called the Alan Smithy, where a director makes a film,
Venus love
and
triumphs.
for various reasons, usually producers saying do this or else, they don't want their name associated with the film anymore.
So, Praetor.
You know, like, they want to say, hey, look, I didn't want to make this. This is not my thing.
Right.
I don't want my name associated with it. So they use the credit Alan Smithy, A-L-A-N-S-M-I-T-H-E-E. So there are a bunch of films made by Alan Smithy which are all the worst fucking films ever made.
Sailors, forward!
There's a Woody Allen film called Burn Hollywood Burn about a director whose name is Alan Smithy and he can't get a job in Hollywood because he's got the name Alan Smithy.
That's funny.
It's a very long-running joke in Hollywood. Also, I'm told because I don't work there.
Probably for the best these days.
No, I've worked in enough Hollywood movies to know that, yeah, I don't really want to be dealing with their producers ever. If I can help it.
Absolutely.
The amount of doublethink and, what do you call it, cooking, yeah, broth with too many cooks.
I would never want to be involved with it. It's horror stories. My aunt works.
You want a horror story? I worked on Cats.
Ugh, really? That's
Really?
horrifying.
I remember getting in there the first day and talking to my my lead, and I said, "Ah, cool. What am I working on?" He said, "Cats." I'm like, "Fuck." And he's like, "Excuse me?" I'm like, "Sorry. Please tell me at least that they, because by that stage the trailer was already released." Because one of those stupid things that people don't seem to realise is that the first thing that comes out of any VFX house is the trailer. You know, the film's been made, the film's been cut. They want to advertise the film 6 months ahead, but they want to do VFX right up to the point they release. Happens with every film. And the first thing they'll do is they'll get you to work on all the shots that they want for the trailer. As hilarious, they always want the biggest, most fancy shots first. You know, the ones that'll sell their film. And of course, they're the ones that take all the design work to do. So you end up spending half your damn time making a fucking trailer.
I think
Which
it's
is-
funny when you get so many of the works, the groups that are doing the Taylor concept work, end up making a far more, interesting concept than what the final product ever becomes.
Not entirely. I did previs for a film called Bait, and I remember I got fired off that project because I cared too much.
The latrine's calling.
That is not a joke.
Can you come with me?
And I remember we did the previs work for it. I'm not a 3D artist, so I'm not usually supposed to be doing previs work. But I know my way around a 3D suite well enough to do it. And I remember the actual film came out and I was fired off it, and the lead soup came onto it and basically said afterwards that the director thought that the previs work was better than the final stuff. And I looked at the final stuff, he wasn't wrong. I mean, that said, it's a lot harder to bring things from like a previs level up to a final spit and polish level. It's just the way that kind of stuff works. Had a boss who used to say, what was it? It takes you 20% of the time to get 80% of the work done, and the rest of the 20% of the time is, and then 80% of the time to get the last 20% done.
It's true.
And it's not wrong, because you can kind of easily get it there, and then it's all the final fiddly little details that take for fucking
Yeah,
ever.
and that's what's getting all these development cycles for so many of these games killed. Like, the end polish is just not there. Like, and that's my concern with a lot of the games, like, in particular, what we're seeing in these sort of rushed launches. It's like, guys, you can't do that. Like, you understand that, like, your viability is whether or not these sort of basic accepted systems or the most tested loops function. Like, we understand that they do. It's the end game where you're going to be like, let's put it this way. It's even worse in end game for MMOs because you're going to have a small percentage of the total content that gets an overwhelming amount of replay. So, be it raids or PvP battlegrounds, which are the high, on loop, on repeat, critical content. That's probably a small amount of work to do them, but they'll get, a lion's share of actual hours put in to experience.
Yeah, I think that a lot of that is just a problem with the way we do these kind of loops. I mean, I think what you'd really want is to just polish every mission, every game loop, and not have those kind of end game raids. In some manner of speaking, just find a way to scale up your content to different,
Well, the point is,
That is a infeasible proposition.
So think about, for example, like in World of Warcraft, just something like Alterac. It is not a lot of work that's put in to make this one battleground relative to everything else that they've done in the game. But it's an evergreen PvP battleground that gets millions of matches to go through it. And because it's been evergreen the entire length of World of Warcraft, it's getting more use than any raid that's ever existed. Right. So those are considerations you have to bring into, well, it might seem trivial, but failure in your production line, as they have been doing, and not to put these new battlegrounds in or to have that content, it can be deeply damaging to your overall experience for players, because they need this type of end game high replayability loops to keep people engaged. And we see this over and over and over again in terms of design.
We stand.
Which is to say, think about your own behavior in Star Citizen. Ruin Station, CZ, for example. In terms of total development of areas that they've put in at very high levels of detail, and all the cities and everything else that they've put in, we spend far more time in these tiny contested zones and executive hangars as an end game loop than anything else we're doing. Right, so failure to have that stuff polished and working well, or letting it get left on the wayside when it's content that's going to be receiving the vast majority of the time. If you don't have a good development team that understands that that is true, you end up in real trouble. And that's been my experience with most of these games. They're just not putting development resources into this stuff, and that's critical. It's a major failure.
If you're building a system that is like in the kind of the World of Warcraft, here's how we do raids, or the Star Wars, the old pub, the tip, then yeah, I am in absolute agreement. I just don't think you have to build an MMO that way.
I mean,
I think that's a well-tested design paradigm. But I've seen other paradigms in other things, so like...
Right, but for what we're playing in Star Citizen, it's clear that they've looked at it and decided that they want to do strikes, they want to do loops that are essentially FPS dungeons with quite literally raid bosses in them, right? The Jormungandr the worms, the actual sandworm, a lot of the other content there. These are clearly like Destiny-esque or World of Warcraft style, big bullet sponge bosses that drop clear loot that's exchanged for ships and equipment and so forth at a vendor. So that's a pretty standard MMO loop, and it seems to be the direction they're going into. And there's clearly defined areas to be, for example, oh, this is a PvP area that we're going to fight over. The contested zones are, for better or worse, open world PvP battlegrounds with a degree of instancing.
What I'd like to see is that, but not so static. Like, you can have that idea of the event, but like maybe stick it anywhere in the verse. Like, it could show up anywhere. You don't know what, like...
They could do anything, but they're not...
That's basically world bosses with a randomized spawn count. However, the current tools don't allow you to basically
If I had a tavern for my
try and find it. That's a form of exploration that needs to be implemented.
Exactly, and that is the thing they want to do,
I'll be
and
a famous
I think they could do it pretty
Now
easily
paint
by
me with
mixing
me
it up
axe.
the
My
locations.
point is I'm all for it. I think that right now they need to get the basic meat and potato core loops that they know work in at this point, so there's a game. And then, obviously, yeah, it's a huge universe. Please, by all means, you should absolutely be populating with this stuff. But the entire premise of this conversation is that you want to have that 20% of the work that is going to get 80% or more of the playtime. So you have to have that critical high-use endgame stuff in. Like, you need the battlegrounds, and you need the raids, and you need the arenas for people to have something to replay. They have to have the
Please, can I get a party invite? If anybody wants to join me, we have a pretty good chance that Noob Isra might be on right now in Ruin Station.
Sorry,
I
who?
about the ground. I'm about to head out in a bit because the Euro team's logging in and it's late. Even the cat's like, go to bed.
Yeah, do that. See you around.
See you around, Arcades.
I can probably do it one round of invites if you need it, but otherwise you'll probably be in good shape.
Good. I'm just quickly hopping on his server to see if he is down there. But
Who
Peace
is
Fighter,
down where?
if Noob Isra is down in Ruin Station, CZ. He is somebody I enjoy fighting.
Yeah.
Because he's good or because he's bad?
Here
Because
comes
he's
He
an
is
asshole.
enjoyable to.
Fancy
He is
fighting in the name of
enjoyable
love and
to.
justice again.
Fuck with, I would say. No, he's
Although
he's
these two
good.
do actually love each other very much. But
But he's got a mouth on him?
The Vestals aren't
Oh, yeah.
keen on marriage
Oh yeah.
at all.
Wait a second. I have one video of him going completely ballistic. Give me a second.
The die is cast.
Sorry, I'm in the middle of a dogfight.
Yeah, all good. I will just quickly send you the link of the mouth this player may or may not have on him.
Just as a quick, one to Mike. With one being the lowest level of language and Mike being Mike.
Mike minus 1.5.
Okay, that's
But not
yeah,
not the normal Mike, but the really tilted Mike.
Yeah,
Mike when someone's just put a couple of missiles up his tail.
I have to tell you, the reason I keep Mike around, this is the honest truth, is that he is an ex-Marine, and you are playing a military sim, high immersion environment. So, whether or not you have Mike or not, there are always going to be more Mikes for you to deal with. You're always going to have guys just like him
In
who
the
are
name
Marines
of Venus,
on
you
your naval
struck
ground.
true.
Just so you know. That's as much immersion as
Oh
you
good,
can
as
get.
long as he can live with that, I will toast him in FPS.
Mike is a state of being. I live right above. I actually live in what used to be a Marine base, but it was retired after World War II. And this entire area is nothing but military bases. Near the north, there's a much larger one, Camp Pendleton, around. These guys are all over the place. And at some point, you're going to have to just deal with my day-to-day suffering as I...
Time
But at
flies.
the same
As long as he
time,
continues to dogfight the way he does, I'm generally okay with it.
Yeah, my point is you're going to get more people like this who are going to come in and play, and he's treating you guys in the exact same way as he did with his unit IRL. Does that make sense? This is
Does he
just
keep
standard
up a lot?
Marine bullshit.
Dirige frontem.
You're getting the full immersion. It's funny because like Melkor comes in because he's an ex-army officer, and he's just like, oh my god. It's just more enlisted man bullshit as usual.
And
But
we
it
wonder
can be
why
like
the
a-
army has so many friendly fire incidents.
I'm supposed to talk about that.
There are just certain days you can't work with him. That's okay. And just some days you can talk with him, some days you cannot.
Yeah, my point is like nobody's protected of the organization, but as officers, eventually you're going to have to deal with the reality of, oh, well, these people exist, and I'm going to have to figure out what to do when I'm doing fighting, and I have a lot of people doing mass scale PvP, and you're going to get robber groups like this. They're just out there. You can have a big army and a big fleet, or you can have elite teams, but you're not, and you can have both, but they're not going to be the same type of people overlapping. You're unlikely to get a huge volume of elite players. It's just never going to happen.
No, but you can separate out your elites and have them do different things so they don't have to interact with,
And inherently, they have to do that. Like, you have to choose who goes in your, who's suitable. But you have to have a role for the casuals and retain and recruit them as well.
Sure. Cannon fodder's a role, right?
I mean, that's always been the case.
Waiting for your
Can fodder
decree.
must though accept to be can fodder.
Yeah, right. Look at the Russian army.
Yes, and why do they accept it? Because they have a gun pointed to their back.
They're gonna,
Exactly.
they're Russian, that's
Nobody
the,
needs
that's
to
the
accept
Russian
it.
way, man. It's blocking troops for a reason, dude. That's not a bug. That's a feature, and that's also done deliberately. Like historically, the Russians have all these ethnic minorities that are disloyal or they have other issues with for whatever they're on the wrong side of this or that political nonsense. So those guys get sent to the front. Like, why are they taking such high casualty? That's deliberate, man. That is that's a feature. These are undesirables from within their own society that they want to eliminate. Simple as that.
So, Praetor.
Well, the Chinese used to do that historically. The frontline troops.
We tried that once.
But
It
historically,
was not
the
well
Chinese
regarded.
they would use prisoners. So, for example, in the Warring States period, prisoners from previous campaigns, and you'd use them as frontline troops when you're fighting other states because, you you fucked up, you
Why
surrendered.
waste your guys when you can waste the guys you were just fighting?
Yeah, well, use the defeated vassal states guys as your troops because they might as well. It's a form of punishment.
Well, not just a form of punishment, also, it keeps your people happier and alive.
We stand, waiting.
That's brutal pragmatism.
We
I cannot believe that ridiculous war is still going on.
What
It's
ridiculous.
just so fundamentally just like this giant money laundering clusterfuck for everyone involved on all sides.
I mean, there's only really one side that can back out of what they're doing, and they're not going to. You cannot, but I cannot imagine any conceivable scenario in which Ukraine could back off the war. Where are they going to fucking go?
Come ordine seque.
I mean,
Would
already
you
know what they're doing. I mean, the reality is, like, what half of the population and the core demographics are like refugees. I mean, we know what they did. They left. They went elsewhere. Like they went to Europe. They went to the United States. They went to anyone else that would take them. They got out. By the way, that's the right thing to do. Like, I think that was the right solution. If you're a younger guy and you have some ability to do work
It's
somewhere
more
else,
likely you'll get a deal out of me now.
yeah.
And you didn't sign up for this unwillingly to begin with, then yeah, sure, get the fuck out.
Festina Lente.
Yeah, nobody wants to be a fucking conscript on the Eastern Front historically. That's not a good career path.
I'm gonna be honest, nobody wants to be a conscript in the modern military. Or like in modern war.
No,
I just want the thing to be done because I have some bad news for the rest of the Europeans. You're still largely vassal states, so we're quite happy to use Europeans to fight European wars. Which is to say, right now it's like
So look,
mercenaries.
my friend here's been promised to the
demobilized
Vestals.
groups, but
If they find out
you
she
can
was
see
getting
how we've
married,
used up
the two
Ukraine.
of them would be buried alive.
And the rest of the Western Europeans are like, all right, cool, they can fight to the last Ukrainian.
Love's all well and good,
great.
but I don't want
But
my
that
friends to die for it.
Would be
Anyway,
that would be repeated over and
Thanks
over again.
you. Whether you
It would
actually
become the
love
Poles.
Yes.
we
Yes.
would
Allies
use the
and
Poles to
small
do the
token.
same shit we're doing with the Ukrainians. We would absolutely use Estonians and Lithuanians and the rest as useful, I would say.
Yes, the
sacrifice.
next military overs are significantly better equipped and don't just get our 30-year-old shit that we would otherwise need to, expensively scrap down. As soon as they try to enter Poland, they have a humongous amount of stockpile Patriots and Patriot missiles. They have a functioning air defense network, actual fucking largest ground army in Europe. Finland, congratulations, tanks might as well not exist at all because for about 80% of the year, where are you going to drive your tank? The one single road? Yeah, good luck with that. Every 5 meters you're going to get like an in-law or some shit pushed down your tailpipe.
I'm
So
not
you can
arguing
shit
whether or
over
not
there.
the Russian army is a threat under its current depleted situation. It's clearly not as effective as people thought. I'm just
it's
talking about
still-
vassalage, whether or not we were happy
A clan
to
with a
lose.
flamethrower is still dangerous.
Festina Lente.
The point in this case is simply that when it comes down to it, U.S. policy has always been, if we can get a civil war going amongst co-ethnics of a group that we don't necessarily like, we're happy to let them deplete themselves all day. Korea being example, Vietnam War, Ukraine more recently. In all cases, you're utilizing a country as a proxy warfare environment where you have a side that is ostensibly Western-leaning, which is a, essentially puppet government, and you're
essentially
propping it up. And we
using-
did the same thing with the Iraqis in Afghanistan as well.
You're essentially using them to ablate your enemy's, offensive capability, while not ablating your own.
Right. It's just how we tend to handle these situations.
Why get in a direct military conflict with Russia when you can let them bang their head against a wall?
Well, right. It's just pragmatism. Do you think that the Germans are going to lose any sleep over having the Eastern Europeans do the fighting to weaken the Russians? The answer is no. They'll give you military surplus from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago all day. And they're happy to do that. And that's in fact what they've done.
Well, I mean, even if you do enter the war yourself for any reason, like America did in World War II, sending that military equipment to allies to have them shore up areas is not bad. I mean, they did that with Russia. They gave Russia all the old surplus, military trucks and shit, so they could get their troops to the battles, so they could bang themselves up against the
Yeah, exactly.
against the Germans.
No, my point is, at the end of the day, we're much more cynically agnostic about things. It isn't. It's not ideological. The United States is often really ambivalent about this stuff. Right? We're quite happy in many cases to just overtly back both sides, to have prolonged conflicts which are designed to have maximum damage. And
Fire has started
so in many
in your
cases,
city.
you'll have situations where we don't like either side, and we're quite happy to have them, deplete themselves in one way, just deliberately.
Yeah, I do think that there's only one downside to it, is the loss of face for America in this particular instance. It's a weakening of soft political power as opposed to hard political power. You're trading in a bit of that for the one for the other. You don't come off looking the best.
I don't think the whole situation has been well handled at all, but it ended up being I think that the outcomes that we're seeing here are reasonably favorable for the Ukrainians in the sense that they didn't lose everything up to the Dnieper River, which is what I expected would happen. So they haven't been completely fucked up.
Honestly, I'm not sure how long Russia can continue what it's doing. I feel like this might be a set of Pyrrhic victories for them.
Oh, it's no question it's a Pyrrhic victory. But the question right now is whether or not it's sustainable for us, or we're going to back out.
They might be taking the land, but the question is, can they continue to hold it if they continue this offensive stuff? I'm not sure they can.
I mean, it just comes
It seems
down
like
to
they
whether
are-
or not they're still able to finance it through Chinese help logistically and technically.
Yeah, I think they're just throwing everything they've got to take as much, land as they can before what they hope is a peace talk that will be favourable to them. And I don't see Ukraine giving into that. I feel like they are just going to fight to the last man.
The question is whether or not the US / the entire NATO bloc will finally remember that they in 1994 they signed on the Budapest memorandum for for Ukraine to return all the atomic weapons to Russia. If they start to remember that, maybe once, because basically they were guaranteed Article 5 rights, and I don't see them yet, so would be nice.
Yeah,
at least.
Ukraine is not going to accept a peace without an actual fucking security guarantee, and not something like the Budapest Memorandum. They're going to want.
If I were Ukraine, I
they're
wouldn't
gonna
accept any other security guarantee than me getting atomic weapons by now. I was gifted the same security guarantees the last time for the exchange of the atomic weapons on my space.
Like
I'm taking shit that
or
isn't atomic
NATO
bomb.
membership, or something that is functionally useful to dissuading Russia from doing this in another 5 years when they've rebuilt up troop numbers. Because as far as I see it, every peace attempt that the Russians have put forward has basically been, cool, we're gonna stop this here. We're gonna take the land we got, and
We'll
then
try it again.
we're
Right.
gonna have some crappy security guarantee that's not a security guarantee in reality, and yeah, in another 10 years we're gonna do this again. Because what did they do with fucking Crimea? They did it again. I predicted it then, and I was right.
I think it's been very consistent with the usual territorial interest in the region. Like,
it's not just that,
no
it's
one's
just their
surprised
standard-
that they went after Sevastopol and wanted Crimea. That's been their policy for hundreds of years. So at the end of the
They
day,
always
it's all
do the same
consistent.
thing every time. It's bite and hold. Bite and hold, bite and hold. Lick your wounds, bite and hold. They'll take what they can get, they'll expand as far as they can get, and then they will rinse, repeat, and do it with a different area, with a different reason. You know, they did it with Georgia, they did it with fucking Afghanistan, they did it with, you know, Ukraine. You know, that is how Russia operates strategically.
Well, I think it's been extremely predictable and extremely consistent with, it was once again not a surprise. There are some people who thought they weren't going to go, they're going to do it. They're 100% going to do it. And as far as they're concerned, it's been an ongoing state since 2014, and I don't think there's a solution. And so it's tough, because the best you can do is dissuade them or raise the costs. But I think in the end, they're probably going to get a significant part of the eastern part of the country. Is almost certainly going to be de facto.
I think they'll, if there is a peace deal of any form, then yes, that is likely to happen. If Ukraine simply refuses to, which it looks exceedingly likely that they're just going to refuse everything and continue fighting until the last man,
Good call.
then that's going to depend entirely on whether Russia can hold its positions.
I mean, that's the real reality.
Or if they want to continue to try and, as I said, expand, that's going to get more difficult for them over time.
I don't think the Russians want to go too much further west. As we've already seen, like unrest or like frozen conflict status hasn't worked for them.
I feel like they might have gone too far as it is. Like, I feel like they probably
I
should
think
have held
that's
back further.
probably true. Yeah, there's no question. No,
I feel like they've
this is
overextended
very,
their
very
supply
costly.
lines, and they're just suffering heavily for it at the moment. I don't know what the Ukrainian attrition is like. Probably fairly similar.
Yeah, I think it's designed to do that.
But it's just going to get worse for them as they, you know, basically head towards Kiev.
Well, my point for all
They
this
all
is I
look
think it's deliberate. I think that the United States and NATO have been quite happy to keep it
Well, they don't lose.
reasonably. They don't want the Russians to win, but they also don't want the Ukrainians to stop bleeding the Russians. So they give them enough help to keep them in the fight, but not enough to go too much further than that. So the capabilities.
Yeah, they don't.
Really
They don't want the
hold out.
Russians withdrawing. They want the Russians thinking
They-
the victory is possible, so that they can continue to attrit the Russians.
Correct, exactly, and that's the cynicism of it. That's a lot of people don't want to accept that that's going on.
Love's all
I
well
was
and
pretty
good,
much under
but
the
I
assumption that
don't
that was
want my
definitely
friends
what
to
was going
die
on.
for it.
There's not another
Anyway.
explanation for the for
Thanks you.
how America is
Whether you acted for
treating
love
that.
or for money,
I mean, Europe
please
doesn't
take
seem
the
to give a
small
shit for that. They
token.
seem to be just pumping weapons in where they can.
I mean, it's completely consistent. I think that whether people accept it or not, there's a massive sort of ethnic and historical divide between Eastern and Western Europe, and they're not necessarily particularly friendly. So I think there's a sense that if you're a Western European in general, whether or not they would admit this openly, that they're quite happy to have Eastern problems attrit themselves all day. They're quite happy to support that.
Well, I think the problem is if they allow that to happen and then what they expect doesn't come to pass, they will end up with Russia on their doorstep. And that doesn't look good for
Right,
any
exactly.
of
This
them.
is just basically East versus West. This is like Germanic versus Slavic, and this is nothing new. There's a lot of bad blood there.
Mandata captate.
Most of the
I mean,
major
you're-
wars of the last, 200 or 300 years have been fought along those lines.
You will basically have, you know, Germans and the Polish on, you know, like the border of, you know, like Russia with Kaliningrad and Poland and Romania, and you know they're all
There's
all
a
NATO
market
countries.
for everything. If you're desperate enough.
They're basically going to be having, you know, second Cold War going on, like a proper second Cold War.
I think we're so far beyond that because this has been a hot situation. So from my perspective,
Look, we're engaging in what is basically Vietnam. You know, like Vietnam, while ostensibly part of the Cold War, was not the same as the fucking Ruskies in Germany. So yeah, it's not going to be good. Assuming if the Russians do manage to succeed at what they're doing, I don't know if they can. To be honest with you.
I mean, the question is like, to what extent do they really severely overextend it? It seems to be.
Oh, they're definitely overextended. I mean, have you seen the pictures of their tank yards? That they had all that old Soviet equipment, and it is gone.
Yeah.
Like whatever they had, if it is functional, it is already in Ukraine, and they are now back. And from what I've seen, most of that's gone too. They are basically down to the drones and their meat.
I think that's what
Because-
basically.
They have Kalashnikovs left over. Don't forget Kalashnikovs and RPGs, please.
Yeah, they got Kalashnikovs, they got RPGs, but in terms of their armor, their force multipliers, that shit's. I don't think that's going to change any battles anytime soon.
The quality of armor right now is also like questionable because every platoon size basically has a TV guided close to cruise missile for tank size attached to them.
So, Praetor.
That certainly does change the battlefield. I mean, still, it's not quite the same as an 120mm cannon. That does offer some, direct and indirect fire, and the thermal vision attached to them.
The thermal vision is most likely the more interesting thing. But to be
I'd
fair, the
say-
new Russian tanks don't even have thermal vision because they don't have the the semiconductors for that shit anymore. As a quick head note.
To be fair,
How much
I don't
of the
think they have any of the
Chinese
newer
are like-
tanks in there either. Because what is it? The Armada is. I think they're keeping that one at home.
Well, they're
I have
right.
not. I have not seen any footage of the T-14 Armada in Ukraine. Like nothing. No kills. No.
There was, I
secondary
think, one quick video where it got hit with a drone and then got towed away later, if I remember right. So
To be fair, the last time I saw the T-14 Armada, it was getting towed away from a Russian
on the
raid.
parade.
I am not convinced that that thing is a real tank. I feel like it is a propaganda piece more than
Yeah, it's a
something
prototype.
actually being fielded. If it is as good as they say it is, which I'm very sure it isn't, I don't think they can mass produce it. Because if they could, they would have.
They can't even mass produce the newest version of the T-92 right now. T-90.
Yeah, like the upgraded T90 is the one with the thermal sights. The old T90 didn't have them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, exactly.
And
Because
that was the
thermal
one- that was
sights
like the
are
main difference.
expensive.
Yeah, but they're also fucking necessary for a tank in the modern battlefield.
Mhm.
And I would say also point defense, something to take out drones, is definitely necessary. Something like what is it? The Israelis have got the Merkava. That would be fucking fantastic. Because they had that little active air defense system. Basically kills missiles as they come in range.
I'm gonna bring this stream.
I definitely wouldn't want to rely on the jamming systems at the moment because everyone and their dog's got the fucking fiber optic cables. Jamming does jack shit against that.
I'll be
Yeah.
back, guys. Enjoy. See you tomorrow.
See it? It'd be
Yeah.
like trying to jam a tow missile. It's okay. They can't guide it in using RF. Don't worry. Our tank's RF detector will basically see that yeah, that thing's coming in. Nope. No fucking warning. You got to have radar or jack shit. You're not getting any warnings.
Please, are you going to join Rune Station? I got some pretty big
negative.
fight here. Okay.
Oh,